Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and on Designing Your Life Today, I want to talk about the power of evolution over change. As I said a few days ago that I was going to be talking a lot about change. And I also mentioned that I would explain the difference between evolving versus changing. And so I think that evolution and evolving into something or someone is far more powerful. And when you understand the difference between change and evolution, then you will understand why. So let's get into it. First of all, when it comes to changing, that's something that can happen instantly. That something doesn't require, let's say, feeding off of something that already exists. In other words, changing is something that can be very external. So if you were to change your shoes, decide, I don't like the shoes that I'm wearing, so I'm going to change them. That's an instantaneous thing. That's something you can do instantly. So change can be any alteration. It can be any substitution, such as if someone goes to get a facelift because, I don't know, they didn't like their nose or something. So they can go and have that change done. That is a change because that's something that they can make the decision to do instantly, walk in, make an appointment, and of course, go through the process, I guess, and schedule a time to get it done. So that's change. On the other hand, when it comes to evolving, evolution is a progressive thing. And human beings, we are designed to progress. We're not designed to just make this quick change that is more on the side of, let's say, superficial, something superficial, or something that's reversible, something that is not going to be permanent, because at some point we can decide, you know what, I think I want to go back to where I was before or what I was before. So with that being said, the example I used about the shoes, you could say, wow, now that I've changed my shoes, I think I want to go back to the original pair that I was wearing. So change, it is an alteration or a substitution, but evolution is progressive and change can be reversible. You can go back to undesirable habits if you decide, you know what, I'm going to change. This is why I think a lot of us have a difficult time making change, these permanent changes, if you will. So evolution is more of the permanent change. So because you're progressing and evolving into something that you already are. Now, evolution builds on what already exists. Change often involves you bringing something in that doesn't exist. For example, the shoes. Okay. I mean, you weren't born with shoes, so you will have to go and look for something outside and find that alteration outside of you. Evolution is based on what already exists inside of you. Hence the phrase, you're built by design to win. You have what you already need as a very strong foundation. The object of the game is for you to progress within something that you already have. For example, we already have muscles. And so if you say, well, my muscles aren't developed, or they're not built, or I need to be more muscular so I can develop more strength or have more strength, then you already have muscles. So the object of the game is to take your time and build those muscles so that they can evolve, because they already exist. So they're going to progress to the next level, which means you're going to be stronger. You already have a mind. We all have a mind, and we all have a brain. So you have a mind, but here's the beautiful part about that. Your mind can, I want to say, stay stagnant because of the information that you feed it, or the lack of information that you feed it, or your mind can grow and expand based on you feeding it something new, something that's going to allow you to progress. This is why personal growth is so important. And it doesn't matter where you are in your life, personal growth is always necessary, because the more you feed your mind, as you feed your mind the right things that will take you in the direction that's connected to your purpose, you're going to have a very fulfilling life. Anytime I've not been excited about my life or felt fulfilled, I find that I was seeking, let's say, something from the outside, and hoping that if I connect with a certain group, that it would help me grow. Which brings me to the concept of accountability partners. Now, within Power Up Nation, we're here to cheer you on. We're here to provide information, and information that will spark inspiration. But at the end of the day, accountability partners, that becomes very heavy, where one person is putting the responsibility for their success onto another person. And that's really not what it's about. You have to take that responsibility for yourself. But it's nice to surround yourself with a group of positive people instead of someone who's going to talk you out of evolving into the person that you were designed to be. And here's the thing about that. How do people do that? Well, some people might say, oh, you look just like your father. And if you look like your father, you're probably just like him. That's ridiculous. Okay, so just because you look like someone, it doesn't mean you're like that person. Oh, you know what? You look just like your mother. And the same thing. Oh, wow, you're probably just like her. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. People have a tendency to want to think because someone looks like someone, they're supposed to think like that person and be that person's clone. No, we are individuals. And I talked about that in my podcast episodes from last week, where I talked about 5 ways to change and achieve, 5 things to stop if you want to amplify your success. So it is important that you understand that evolution is so powerful. This means you've made a commitment to be who God designed you to be. This means you understand that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And you know what? I'm going to let all these great gifts that I've been given, and yes, even your physical gifts, like your ability to lift something, any of those gifts that you've been given, they're all there for you to use for your purpose so that you can follow through on your purpose. So evolution is extremely powerful. I wanted to talk about this because I've heard this more than once. Sometimes there's a few speakers who often say that change is better than evolution, and that's not true. It's not, or that they're the same, and that's not true. They're very different. So with that being said, evolution builds on what already exists. And while we're talking about personal growth, I just want to remind you guys that we have our Summer Success Series coming up July 20th. And we kind of have that bonus week where you're going to be able to download some very exciting personal growth resources. And that bonus week is July 13th. And so I want to encourage you to go ahead and register now. It doesn't cost you to register. And of course, the resources are not going to cost you anything as well. Now, throughout the challenge, there will be opportunities for you to opt in to pay for certain things, which will not be expensive, but they will help you to grow. And it's up to you if you want to participate. But either way, you're going to have, I think, a really good time during the Summer Success Series. So you can go to designingyourlifetoday.com/success series and just go ahead and register and get on the list. And you will receive some really great information about the Summer Success Series as we get a little bit closer. And as I said, that bonus week, July 13th, that's when some of the different resources will be available. And then we're going to go into July 20th. So don't miss it. Okay, so let's get back to the power of evolution over change. Now, evolution, it allows you to grow into the person that you were designed to be. And here's the beautiful part. Once you evolve into that person, into that new state, you or state of being, you become, that's more permanent. You become a person who is now on a different level. So that's a more permanent state for you. So when I say a more permanent state, it does not mean that you won't continue to evolve. It means that you won't go backwards. And when it comes to change is often reactive because we do things because we absolutely have to make a change to evolve to avoid. There it is. That's the word I'm looking for. We do that so that we can avoid something that's unpleasant, or we want to eliminate a temporary problem. So because change is reactive, that means once that problem has been eliminated, we can go back to being the person that we were before because we didn't progress, we didn't evolve. As the beautiful part about evolving, once you evolve, because you're a different person, chances of you attracting or getting involved in the same unpleasant scenario is probably zero because you're at a different level. Now, here's my caveat. Just because you evolve, that does not mean that you're not going to have challenges, because every time it's time for you to go to a new level, then you know what happens? You've got to evolve even more. What that means is you're not done growing, that there's more to you than what you think. So if you've gone through some unpleasant things in your life, and I don't know of anybody who hasn't been through some unpleasant challenges in their life, if you've gone through any of these kinds of things, then here's your hope. Your hope is that if you allow yourself to evolve, then these things will go away, okay? Or they'll become kind of like a small annoyance that you won't even notice. It's kind of like I want to say it's kind of like a little gnat fly, but yeah, they're annoying. So not a good example. But with that being said, you want to allow yourself to evolve. Sometimes when people use the phrase, I know me, I know who I am, or they go, well, this is just who I am. What they're saying is they're not willing to evolve. They're not willing to grow. And as a result, they're going to have so many challenges coming at them. And because they refuse to evolve, because evolving allows you to rise to the challenge. If you think about it, we're not going to go too deeply into this, but if you think about the idea of extinction, the different animals and everything that became extinct, they didn't evolve. They didn't adapt. They didn't adjust to what was new, what changed. And listen, things are always going to change. Like right now we have AI, and while AI is an external thing, and in a sense, it requires that you do two things. Number one, you have to change a little bit, meaning you have to go into kind of a reactive state to learn it pretty quickly. But on the evolution state, what you're doing is you're allowing your mind to expand, to receive something new, to learn something new so that you can grow and get to where it is you desire to be. So as you can see, evolution is extremely more powerful than change. Evolution, it's a forward moving type progression, and it's connected to a meaningful purpose. And so evolution is the thing that takes you to being who you were called to be. Evolution is what allows your courage to grow and become who you were called to be, who you desire to be. And if you meet people who say, I wish I had done that, or I wish I could do that, or wow, that seems like it would be exciting, I would love to do that, and they're not doing it, it's because they're not willing to allow themselves to evolve. Because here's the thing about evolution. With evolution comes the courage and obedience to being who you were called to be. See, all of these things are part of evolution. So evolution, we sometimes, or people view evolution as it's just a physical thing. In other words, when you were two, you had a certain body type, you walked a certain way, okay, you wobbled a little bit. And then when you became more of an adult, different body, you evolved into someone who was different. But evolution is about more than physical. It is about allowing your mind to evolve. It is about really learning what you need to learn so that your emotions can adjust and grow with you. This is why we have a lot of, and I don't want to say a lot because I don't have any statistical facts, but I just look and see how things are going in society. But we have a lot of human beings that lack emotional intelligence. And so because they haven't grown up emotionally. And they still want to act like they're in high school. They spew insults. And of course, that is a sign of a lack of maturity. So think about it. Where are you holding yourself back? And if you make the decision that you're going to evolve, with that decision comes the idea that you're not going to go backwards, that you are making a firm decision that you're going to move forward in your life and you're going to do life with power, no matter what. And this is not an age thing, because as I just finished saying, there are so many people who are adults, and as adults, they still sound like they're in high school. They still respond like they're in high school. And there are men who still chase women like they chased girls when they were in high school. There are women who flirt with the men like they did when they were in high school, instead of kind of making an adult, more mature, more purposeful, meaningful connection. So that's just an example. And it's kind of rampant, actually. So when you stop and think about these things, you want to really assess your life. Where are you in your life? And by the way, that is one of the kind of perks or resources that you're going to receive, is a kind of a short life assessment plan that you can download when you sign up for the Summer Success Series. And so that's during that bonus week. So you want to get signed up now, because July 13th is when we're going to hand out some of those bonuses. And it's really a great assessment. As I said, it's very short. It's something that I have used in the past, and I haven't used it. I didn't use it last year, and so far I haven't used it this year. But you know what? Since we're doing the Summer Success Series, I think I'm going to do it for myself as well. So you want to take a look at that, and this is going to give you some idea as to how you are allowing yourself to evolve. When things don't evolve, and that includes human beings, well, it becomes extinct. In other words, there's no need for it. There's no need for it in society. And as a result, it kind of, I want to say, almost washes itself out, or positions itself so it's taken away from society, because it is not serving any real purpose. Understand this: when people find their purpose, when they're serving their purpose, things become very different. Their life looks very different. Their focus is very different. How they feel about themselves becomes very different. I want to say this, like sometimes when there are people who go to prison, they'll go to prison because they did something that perhaps they shouldn't have done, killed someone. And while these are not good things, some of them go into prison and then they learn a better way. They learn something different. But because of that solitude and the time that some of them have to themselves, they get to think about their purpose and who they were called to be. So with that being said, then the evolution begins to take place. And then when they come out and they start serving their purpose. And you know what happens? They never go back again. So think about your life and kind of where you fit into this whole, evolutionary process. This isn't something that's rocket science. This isn't something that's difficult. This is about you understanding you, connecting to you, seeing where you need to make the necessary commitment to evolve, to allow yourself to evolve. Now, don't get me wrong. Here's my little caveat. I think all human beings need to, I talked about maturity. I talked about being an adult, but I also think that there's a part of us that needs to be childlike. And of course, the Bible tells us, unless you be like a little child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And so it is important that you embrace your purpose, embrace the idea that you're an adult who's here to serve an amazing purpose. But at the same time, that little childlike part of you, that's the part that's going to help you evolve. In other words, it allows you, children, they're not prideful as like adults are. Okay. And they make changes. Now, whether the change is good or bad is based on how they're raised and what they're taught in their environment. And children, when they're children, of course, they totally depend on their parents or guardian. And I say guardian because I was raised by my grandparents. So they depend on someone for their sustenance. They depend on someone to help them really kind of grow into responsible, purposeful adults. And so if we're like little children, that means that at that point we are totally depending on God, and we're looking to God saying, okay, you put me on this earth. I know you've given me a purpose. So who do I have to become in order to fulfill this purpose? This is you kind of giving permission for that evolution to take place. So with that being said, change is good, okay, because change often leads to evolution, but change is not more powerful than evolution. And as I start to wrap up, I know I use changing your shoes as an example for change, but there are other areas. I also use the facelift, but there are other areas of change that can take place that will allow you to evolve. For example, I don't know if you were working on becoming more physically fit and you say, okay, I'm going to change my eating habits. And so when you change your eating habits, that's great because you're saying you're changing them. And that's an instantaneous fix, if you will. Okay. That's something that can happen instantly. Okay, if you've been eating, candy or whatever, you can take it and throw it in the garbage instantly, and you can say, I'm going towards healthy food. So that's a change. But now in evolution, and so change can lead to evolution, because once you make that change, you can do one of two things. You can either go back to eating poorly, or you can say, you know what, this is giving me more energy, so I'm going to eat. Make this a part of my life. This is going to be a part of my lifestyle now. This is my new health regimen. And so now you've evolved. You're evolving into a person who's taking more responsibility. With that being said, that tells you that with evolution comes responsibility. So think about these things and think about who you stopped yourself from evolving into. You don't have to be like your parents. You don't have to be like, I don't know, someone you see on television. You don't have to be like someone you meet and you look at them and wish you had their life, because, well, first of all, that's covetous. But instead of wishing that you had their life, wish that you could develop your own gifts and talents. Wish that you could step into the life that God has designed for you. And that's how you start to do life with power. So that's all I have for you on the power of evolution over change. And evolution is so powerful. Yes, jot down things that you want to change, and then add to that. Okay, in order to change, make these changes and make them permanent, who do I have to evolve into? Who do I have to become? You see, a person who becomes physically fit by eating right and exercising. This isn't a change. That's a change in the beginning, because they can always go back to not doing it. But as they evolve into having a healthy body and living a healthy lifestyle, now that's a decision, and it's a very firm decision, and they've decided that they're not going to go backwards. So I just wanted to use that as an example. So spend that time with yourself and jot down, all right, who am I evolving to? And once you start to evolve, you're going to find that goal achievement is a lot easier, because you are giving yourself permission to be the best that you were designed to be. And believe me, we were all designed to be amazing, magnificent. So in the meantime, you guys, remember to sign up for the Summer Success Series. You can go to designingyourlifetoday.com/success series. I announced it last week, so now I'm announcing it again this week. And get signed up. And before you know it, we're going to be doing Life with Power. And we are going to know that we are all built by design to win.